Good morning. Another Monday, another week. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm huddled in my sitting room because the gas has now run out. So our kitchen, which is normally warm with the Arga, is bloody freezing. Our whole house is freezing, but the sitting room's quite warm because the fire's been burning or cooling down all night. And I've got a bundle on my doggy, keeping me warm too. Anyway, this morning I wanted to speak about the fact that it's never too late. Some of you might have read a book by Mary Wesley in your time. She's written things like The Camwell Lawn and Harnessing Peacocks and Jumping the Queue. What else did she read? She wrote The Vacillations of Poppy Carew. I mean, she's written tons of amazing, hilarious, interesting, passionate and compassionate books. Anyway, the great thing about Mary Wesley is how she became a writer. And I've read this book many times. It's called Wild Mary, and it's her biography, and it's super compelling. But what I love about Mary Wesley, and the thing that just draws me to her no end, is that she didn't actually publish her first novel until she was 70. Now, there are lots of stories about her, I don't want to just read paragraphs from this book. And for anybody who's even vaguely interested, it is so worth reading, though. But essentially, she married. She's from a very well-to-do background, and she had a lot of expectations put on her as a young woman in terms of what she should be as a mother and housewife and nice hostess, etc. But the first marriage that she entered into when she was young didn't really make her happy, and she was actually very extrovert, and it actually coincided with the Second World War. And she went and worked at Bletchley Park, which is, as we all know, where they did the code breaking. So she had this kind of quite exciting life in the Second World War, which meant that she kind of just lost touch with her husband, who was also off fighting somewhere. And anyway, to cut a long story short, they fell out of love, and she fell in love with a chap called Otto Siepmann, who was a very passionate, boozy writer, and they had this really, passionate love affair. And she ended up getting divorced from her first husband, who was titled and very well-to-do. And essentially, her parents disowned her for this misdemeanor of getting divorced. But she married Otto for love, and they were together until he died, which was when she was about 65, I think. But they had a difficult life as a married couple because he was a wannabe writer too, and essentially they were penurious. They lived on Exmoor, and they took in students and to get by. But they loved each other, and their love kind of sustained their marriage. But I think it could have been a lot easier. It was a hard marriage, and Otto definitely had a drink problem. Anyway, to cut a long story short, again, because it is a long story and it's totally worth reading, the Wild Mary book. This is what we're talking about today. Wild Mary. Wow. She had to sell the home that they were living in after he died. She'd run out of money. She felt like no one cared about her because her children had moved away, and she was feeling very miserable. She had flu, and the house was on the market, and an estate agent came round and found her basically dying in a chair. And she was in her late 60s at this time, and essentially got her to hospital, and she recovered. And almost simultaneously, I mean, the book puts it simultaneously, but she was able to get her book published. Her first book got published. So when she was, I think her first book got published when she was 70. And anyway, she went on to have, I think, 15 amazing books published. And I mean, they are amazing, and be one of the country's most successful authoresses. And that was all between the age of 70 and I think she died at 93. So her career didn't start until she was 70. I mean, she had an amazing life before then, which formed the basis of all her novels, but it didn't start until she was 70. Anyway, what I'm trying to say with this morning's morning motivation is that it's never, ever, ever too late. Mary didn't start until she was 70, and she kept going. She wanted to write all of those years, but for whatever reason, one thing or another stopped her from being the writer that she was meant to be. And maybe the universe didn't want her to be that amazing writer until her 70s, because she needed to bring all that wisdom to her writing. Anyway, really worth a read. Wild Mary. Golly, I've gone on a bit. I could talk about Mary Wesley all day, actually. I just find her totally inspirational. I think she got an OBE before she died. But every time I read one of her books, I'm always blown away by how profound and how multidimensional they are. So thank you, Mary Wesley, wherever you are, for being in this planet and for sharing your message with us. And may you all have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.